I want to tell you a story that will really illustrate this, how we must always know that God, or the law, means this for good, means this for good. In this case, our mantra during all this is it's meant for my prosperity. It's meant for my prosperity. Get that? Not my loss, not my lack, not my, it is meant for my prosperity. And the trick that metaphysicians know, it's not a trick, it's the alchemy really, is that we change the appearance. Let's say there's an appearance of lack. So we say, we go to the opposite, which we call the divine condition. We know in the divine condition there's no lack. So we never say that's meant for my lack. That's meant to diminish me. We say this is meant to increase me. This is meant for my increase. Not only for my good, we take it incrementally to the spiritual opposite, like a magnet. Mine, all there is mine. And like we said, it's electricity, so I can plug into the negative socket, I can plug into the positive. So you need to plug in as positive a socket that you can think of to balance and bring the negative to its polar opposite. So we live beyond appearances, and we rule matter by changing, by having a higher idea. For instance, I was in Texas. I arrived to go to a conference. I arrived late, very late, and I was tired. I was energized, but my body was tired. And I left at the conference. We were, massive, 700, 800 people. And I left to go to the hotel. And I got to the hotel and discovered that I had left my check. Knew about institute checks, my checks, all my identification, everything in an audience of 700, 800 people in an unmarked white envelope. No, and if you went into it, you could see what it was, but it was an unmarked envelope. So I'm relieved enough, and here's another secret. We must get to the state where our reactivity, only meaning our emotional reaction to things, so that first habitual reaction, is cleared of fear, and that really all we know is the presence of love, no matter what the situation is. Because to the degree that we have fear, we cannot prosper. We cannot be loved about anything. So, in this instance, I was not freaked out because I come far enough where I didn't think, people were going to run around and spend all the money in the institute. And I just said, it's fine. Now I did, so that was not there, but there were waves of little things. Like I was thinking, oh God, I gotta go get my license, get all those cards again. There would be cumbersome activity. And I was in, looking at a certain principle, looking at the deep meaning of God means it for good. And I said, well, if that is it, then there is no hardship in this for me. I am not, the divine idea behind this is not that I have to go drag downtown and get my licenses and do all this, and that is not the purpose at all of this. This was just the vehicle. It was just a vehicle. And I took it to the spiritual opposite. I said, not only was I okay about it, but I took it to the opposite. You think checks being taken, you think lack, loss, maybe someone using them, and so on. I said, in fact, it's for the opposite reason, for my increase, for my wealth, to be added unto me. And I said, there is nothing in the nature of God that seeks to punish me. Now, as I looked, and this I did very fast, so I got clear on all of that, and I said, this is just the instrument, to facilitate something great, in essence. And so I then did some self-work to heal any idea that blaming myself for being tired if I hadn't been tired, this would have happened. I said, God doesn't blame me. God's not into that, you know. God doesn't blame me. And even if I was sleepwalking, mind takes care of everything. There's no punishment. And even if somebody got a hold of it, and even if it was on the way to the trash, because it's mine, and nothing is lost in this universe, or can be taken from me that is mine, it will be materialized for me, even if it was being shredded, because God is all enough. And I realized the sneaky feeling in there, which could have caused, hardship for me, was I was blaming myself. But once I released that and realized there's no blame, there's no punishment, there's only love, and God knows what things are mine and doesn't want me to go for tedium. And so during the next day, so I was clear about all that, and I made some phone calls just to let people know. And during the interim, I talked to the head of the conference, the people at the bookstore, and by the time I left that conference, this was like a catalyst. I had planned to go there. I had planned to go there and to be very reticent. I was reticent. I was going to go and hear the other speakers and just really be there, but kind of invisible, rested. Well, that wasn't God's idea for me. God wanted me out there, So I believe that the divine speaks to us in ways that we can respond. And knew what would get me going is just, let's get her checks away from her, and she'll start talking to people and telling people. And I got booked at many conferences because I had come out and spoken to people about this, and of course everybody cheered and so I got the whole thing, the divine purpose, for good, for increase, behind this. And so when I got back, I said, okay, God, I see your point. I get it. You didn't want me sitting, being reticent. You wanted me to be out there with my peers, and you had an idea in mind. So thank you very much. I got the point. I'm giving back the check. Okay. I got the point. So that I got the message, so the messenger can disappear. And do you know, the phone rang, the bookstore called me. Some man has just come in, and delivered your envelope with everything in it. And then I said, well, did he work in the hotel? Oh, no. Is he on your staff? Oh, no. Is he part of the people here? Oh, we don't know. And the night before, they said, well, it may have gone into the trash. And so, again, I was feeling ideas. Well, even if it went into the trash, God would materialize it for me. This is the power of love. Just, power of love, right? So, I believe it was materialization. It was like the stranger came in and, delivered the goods. And I had everything, and plus I had all those wonderful bookings and everything. So, this is the alchemy power, right? And I believe to say, this, whatever is going on out here, this appearance is only an instrument of a higher purpose. To bring, literally, the increase, the prosperity to me, right? Another prosperous consciousness is if you make a choice, say that it's good. God created the world and said it is good. And this whole trip really was quite a mystical experience for me because I had made a choice to stay at a certain hotel and spend a little bit more than my budget. But I knew that if I blessed it, it would prosper me. And I realized at first I was in two minds. Should I go? Should I not go? Should I go? Should I not go? And doing that kind of thing. And then I said, I'm going. I have to go. I'm going. And then once I made the decision, I said, it blesses me. Amen. It blesses me. No retracting, no wondering after that, because God says it is good. So again, when you make your decisions, back them up. Don't sit there wondering, gee, I wonder if this is, going to work for me. You can't do that. You say, it's good, it prospers me. Okay? And so it did. In so many ways, I don't have much time to tell, but very, very important in your new attitude about things. We remove ideas of harm, lack, loss. All that has got to go out of our vocabulary forever. Forever. What do you want to remember about yourself? When you're going through a challenge, ask yourself this. When I come to my risen state and I look back at myself going through the whatever, what do I want to remember about myself? Personally, I want to remember that I prospered in all my ways and I did my ends. To the negative. Okay? Realize you're establishing a consciousness pattern that will go on infinitely. Okay? So, how do you want to remember yourself when you're building, this divine characteristics within yourself? Do we want to remember ourselves knowing the truth, having faith, standing in the midst of it, knowing that we know, or do we want to see ourselves crumbling, giving in, getting into it? What do we want to remember? Because we are writing it on, imprinting it on the mind now. Again, ask, what do you, at the same time there are things that we want to eliminate, there are things we want to perpetuate. So ask yourself, what are the good habits, prosperous habits I have established for myself? What do I want to increase? What do I want to keep going? Increase, multiply. Recognize the good that you are, right? And then you can add onto that and streamline, and what do I want to strip away? But recognize the divine prospering habits of consciousness that you have. And we say, we metaphysicians say, I take the good and run. If I'm leaving an experience and going to another one, I always take the good with me, and I build upon that. But I add upon it. So let's say we have a mixed bag of good, like great, my son, demonstrated the car for me. That was wonderful. That shows my word works. But it's not the one that I want. So next time I shall know that my word is fulfilled. My desires are perfectly fulfilled and heard and responded to, but I will also be more clear. And you can use that on anything. So take the seed of what is good. If you have 90% what you might identify negative relationship, don't say it. Say it was good, and what was good about it, what I got from it, and then you can build on what you want to add unto and what you want to eliminate. Okay? Now, when you come up with programs like my thing, I have to wait, and this is real interesting because, and again, this is just the way I interpreted it, right? But if you look at how this works, childhood programming, I have to wait. I mean, sometimes things came very spontaneously, many times. But there was a pattern, and you think, well, here's a child with a parent. The parent says, well, you've got to wait. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Maybe you can have it, maybe you can't. So first of all, the child feels dependent. Remember we talked about dependency on the parent. And says, it gets into your emotional body. So later on in life, that same dependency, even how, the traces of that may be working. But realizing that I am not dependent, therefore I don't have to wait. And that's like, one door closes, another opens. God is now. So there's no reason to wait. But if I believe that I do, I may think that I have to wait to see what's happening with someone else before I can demonstrate my life freely. So you see how these patterns really get in there. And we want to knock them out so that we're all knowing God now, right? And get free. I got free also in the realization of little trait. I'm, fiery and independent. I have been since I'm 13, but there was still this little thing, slightly coloring, that my time Now I can live in my own time zone, and I don't have to go to someone else's time zone. Okay, my time is now.
I know, it's the whole expression, good things come to those who wait, too, that's part of that.
Yeah, that's a part of the whole thing, but that's, that is not true. I mean, it's true in the sense that we must wait upon the Lord, but that would mean something entirely different. It doesn't have to do with, waiting in that sense. It has to mean to wait for the inspiration, or to be still and hear and listen and commune with spirit, right? But the humans have claimed and interpreted as, we foster dependency with one another. And again, that's not true. So, children should be taught to accept in the now, in the now. That in perfect right ways it shall appear, and has nothing to do with the substance in hand right now, the money, whatever it has to do with consciousness, right? So children can benefit from it. Okay, I want to go into Chopra, Deepak Chopra. Deepak Chopra has a marvelous book called Creating Affluence. Creating Affluence. This is a small book. This is a book. I think I may have one copy left out there. It is a great book. It's A to Z, characteristics of opulence. So I'm going to go very fast through the A to Z. But as you're listening to these, see what you might need to add or work on in this prosperity consciousness. Affluence consciousness is a certain state of mind, right? So, A. Chopra also said, see, there are two goddesses. There's the goddess of wealth, and there's the goddess of knowledge. Seek the goddess of knowledge, and the goddess of wealth gets very jealous and will prosper you. Seek her first. Seek knowledge first, because if you have that, you can have all the wealth that is. Okay? So, Solomon, the great Solomon, said, God said, Solomon, I love you. What do you want? Whatever you want, it's yours. He said, give me wisdom to handle my affairs rightly. And of course we know that Solomon got wisdom, and he ruled with wisdom, and also he is, ranked one of the richest men that we have ever heard of. All the kingdom was his, because he asked for that wisdom first. All right. A stands for affluence. Affluence is, as we said, the reality. It is your reality in truth. All possibilities, infinite possibilities, because we're working with infinite, limitless minds that can do all. Absolute. It is the law. It is the one eternal reality. It is that which is. Authority, we talked about, A for authority. Prosperous persons exert their authority not over others, but it's the inner determination, the inner strength, okay? Affluence, abundance. You are always at the point of everything. We're never in the void. Everything is always available to us at any time in perfect right way. Infinite possibilities at my command. D, better and best. We train ourselves. Everything moves toward ultimately all of life in the evolutionary principles. And since it's compelled and created by the divine, moves through its nature to ultimately expressing the best or highest ideal possible. Go first class. When you have a choice and you have to stretch a little bit, you have to do something different, go first class as much as you can, seek the highest and the best. And this is developing a prosperity attitude. Why would we not seek the highest and best? Because we think the universe is a place of lack. Or that it's a place of abundance, but it has nothing to do with me. So those ideas have to be healed. All right? If you go first class all the way in your thoughts, in your actions, your quality, live with quality. Live thinking in terms of the best. The universe will respond to you by giving you the best. Live with consciousness of beauty. Beauty, the prosperous, lavish, luxurious, and it doesn't mean you have to go out and spend what you don't have or anything like that. State of mind, right, approach. So, beauty, joy in the biblical story of Rachel, the wife of Jacob, Isaac, Rebecca and Isaac. Isaac was a joyous man, right? Rebecca was beautiful. And they married the joy and the beauty together. So add beauty unto your life. Very often things get stagnated because we let things run down. We don't realize the divine principle of beauty. Of course, life is so incomprehensibly gorgeous that we can't even look at it, right? So introduce beauty, ask yourself, where can I introduce a consciousness of beauty? Maybe it's as simple as one of my students said, I just have my whole place feng shui. And she said, it's like a paradise. I have plants, and imagine what this is doing to her psyche. Now before it was a dark place, a lavish, 8 rooms, right? 8 large rooms, but dark. So this is oppressing her psyche, and it's saying something about her state of mind. So to bring in beauty, to go more first class, doing nice things for yourself, this will manifest in some way to all of you, but these are words that speak to God, and that are God. And therefore you will be treated that way. See, carefreeness and character. How can we have carefreeness? Our carefreeness is derived from the attitude, we have it all. Remember, we're developing the consciousness, I have it all. The recognition, I have it all. I thought that I didn't. Why can I be carefree? Because I am sure that I have it all, and I am sure that it's all the perfect right action for me. So I am carefree. Why am I also carefree? Because I depend on no persons, places, things, or conditions. I depend on my consciousness of good, for my good. So if one door closes to me, I don't get freaked out. I say another is opening. It's just things moving, changing, whatever. So I'm carefree. I am not concerned. Okay? So carefreeness and character, this inner, radiance of character comes from knowing the truth. Thou shalt know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. I have come, which is truth, I have come that you might have more life and have it more abundantly. This is the word of truth, the word of Jesus. He didn't say, I have come that you may suffer and go without. I have come that you may have more life and have it more abundantly. And he showed the way. He showed the perfect pattern, right, of emancipation. So, D, law of demand and supply. We talked about this last time. My dharma. Whatever I have to give, know that simultaneously there is a need for what I have. It exists right now. Because God creates a whole, need and need met, perfect, whole, right? So, and if I create a demand for what you have, create a need, a demand for what you have because you're giving of that excellence for you, right? You create the demand, all right? Follow your dharma. That's your purpose. Not follow your karma. We say release karma. Release. Get off the karmic wheel through releasing and get a new dharma. Okay? Purpose. When I am my purpose, I am happy. We talked about that. E. Exalting in the success of thine enemies. Exalting in the success of your enemies. Then your enemies become your helpers. So more than anything, it's the ones who are toughest, the rudest, the whatever is, we exalt in their success. Expectancy, eager expectancy. Expectancy by the law of molecules determines outcome. Talk about this. Only the richest will prosperous, lavish, loving, good for thyself. As so-called failure, there is no failure in this universe. I'd rather say it constructively that there are increments of success. You know, we go along to a certain point, maybe we don't achieve the whole goal. We say, oh, we failed. Instead of saying, well, I've come this far, but now I need to go, increase to go the next mile. So there's no failure, okay? But in terms of that, we use our so-called failures or whatever as stepping stones to getting it right. It's just us learning how to get the principle right. No big deal. No moral judgment, no self-accusation, no blame, none of the stuff that has come in, just simply, I'm just working my way out here, I'm just getting it right. G, gratitude, generosity. Gratitude, generosity. Chokra says, God, we look for models. And we said last week, you're masters through Jesus. We have great prototypes and models which demonstrate the highest lifestyle possible to us. In fact, God is the highest prototype. So if we want to copy anyone, copy the nature of God. That's because it's you. That's really who you are. And you won't be happy until you're living out of who you are, completely. You will never attain happiness until you are. Gratitude, generosity, God, gap, goal. And I'm saying this. Again, Chopra says, as we all know, we establish the goal. We must be goal-oriented, not because we're physically oriented, but we realize that it brings out, when you go after a greater goal, it brings out the gifts, it increases you. So it stirs you and brings out greater capacity. So we choose the goal, then, and we involve ourselves, but we practice detachment. We release attachment to the outcome. Now what does this mean? We don't care? No. It just means that we release it. We involve ourselves, but we are free about it, knowing that it will work out right. We don't have to be concerned, all right? And this also, releasing attachment, is letting God, or the mind, universal mind, fill in the details for us. All right? This power of release, and as part of spiritual mind treatment, when we've spoken our word for some new good in this form, at the end we say, I release my word to the perfect law, knowing it is bringing it forth perfectly for me. So I have let it go. I released it to the great servant, the law, to do perfectly in its wisdom for me. So, but release, powerful. You could, I know just a simple example, you're standing at a bus stop, you're waiting for that bus, it doesn't come. Say, I'll take a cab. That's come. Why? The law of release. I released it so it could come forth. Before I was too on it, and I needed to allow the energy, room to appear. So release is very powerful, and this is practicing detachment. Also, another aspect of detachment is to always seek to manifest the divine plan for highest good. So we have our ideas, but we always say, God, this, as I can see it, through my vision now. But whatever is the plan for highest good. And when you do that, you arrive at a detached state, because we're more interested in the divine plan coming forth than we are even actually in attaining our own desires. And of course, when you're interested in the divine plan come forth for greatest good, all your good is included and more. It's always great. greater than we thought. All right? So practice detachment in this constructive way. Not detachment like, well, you know, if it goes, it doesn't go, well, you know, I'm not talking about lack, I'm talking about true detachment and faith and release. And maybe if things are stuck, you need to release it like that. You know, start to take the cab and look at those cabs. Okay. H, happiness and humanity. We are here to add to the happiness of all our human families. I, intention, power of unbending intention. Must decide, intend. You must decide to be wealthy. You must intend to be wealthy. Have you ever decided on anything in your life and you know that and you brought it through? Power of decision. It's in you. So we must decide, and, you know, if you want to, for instance, if you want more money, you must think in terms of money. You must think in terms of vast amounts of abundance, which reflects the nature of the Creator. All right. Have intention to be well, to be prosperous, to have, to do all that is yours. J, let go of judgment. Judge not. You know, because we don't see. It's like we see through a glass darkly, we see partly, right? So let go of judgment, analysis, labeling. Labeling, judgment, and analysis paralysis cause turbulence. They cause turbulence. So this is why it's very often said, you know, since the human eye sees not right, don't judge, don't judge, don't judge. K, or if you do, judge righteously. It's good. It's good. Not have to know. K, organized power and knowledge. Any knowledge that you hear is metabolized instantly and is already part of your creative mechanism. L, love, luxury. Love and luxury. Love is the way. Luxury is a lifestyle. Practice luxury as a lifestyle. This is an inner attitude of luxury, divine luxury. You know, practice that in your ways and make your choices based on that to the degree that you can in balance. Okay, because we don't want to foster limitation. We don't want to foster the lie. So we must live, you know, consciously the idea of luxury more than enough, beauty, and so on. If you do not adopt an attitude of luxury, beauty, love, you cannot prosper. And somewhere you're still thinking lack is true, is good. There's some deeper. Okay. M, help others to make money, to prosper, to get free. Not as much telling them what to do, but giving them the how and giving them support. So you can generate, you know, you're never responsible for the how, that's God. You know, but you are responsible for your consciousness. And you can add unto people's lives and you can help liberate them, or you can, you know, not do that. If you have to motivate others, they will help you. The secret of great leaders, they have the capacity to motivate others, right? M, no to negativity. No, 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 no. We haven't said no yet. Don't be around negative people. In your free time, Captain Hunter says, you have a choice. Some of us in our working conditions and so on, we have to deal with negative people. Okay. At some point you don't. But in your private time, your personal time, choose to spend it with positive, prosperous consciousness people. Now, I'm not saying they have to $1 billion. Say spend it with prosperous consciousness people. You know, and with healthy people, loving people, buoyant people, filled with life, because that's your personal time. Yeah. All right. Oh, opportunity. There is infinite opportunity for whatever at any time. There's no age when things cannot happen. There is no, you know, no limits. All these limits. You know, well, I'm too old for this. That is not the truth. That is just totally bogus. You know, opportunity is infinite and forever, and you can never lose opportunity. It will come back to you again as soon as you want it. So you cannot make a mistake, you cannot lose, and you have opportunity forever. Open and honest communication. Be open and be honest in loving ways. Know peace, purpose, finding your purpose. That opens to your doorway to infinite wealth. Q, question, dogma. Question, dogma. Break through the hypnosis of social conditioning. Is this true of God? Break through the hypnosis. Don't accept anything that you cannot imagine to be true of a loving God. If you cannot imagine this to be true of a loving God, do not accept it. We don't teach dogma. No. There is no, we don't teach, rituals that you have to go through. Teach love, truth. Okay. R, receiving is as necessary as giving. Now, you have to give and receive in balance. Like perfect circulation, I give and I receive. As I give, I receive. As I give, I receive. The absence of courtesy, grace, and appreciation, in other words, ingratitude, creates poverty. Be a good receiver. Say thank you. Can I take you to dinner? Thank you. Not, well, I have to pay back sometime. Don't worry about it. Practice thank you. Practice receiving so that you establish balance. We can throw ourselves way out if you give too much and you don't think, then stop and receive. So you must live in balance, giving and receiving, giving and receiving. This is something you intuitively begin to live by. You know when to release, when to take in, right? S, sensing and service. This universe is a universe of circulation. Money, like blood, must flow. It is life energy as money. It is God's nurturing energy as money. It is a medium of exchange. It must be circulated. We must circulate because by circulating we create the vacuum that then draws in the rest. And if we don't circulate, then we get the negative part of that, which is big bills, parking tickets, and whatever, because it's the law. So it does no good to congest what we have, not to happily pay, for instance, like on bills, most metaphysicians put thank you. You write your bill with kindness in New York and you say thank you. Because we realize that it's all, you write your check, and we realize it's all a system that's supporting itself within itself. Therefore, we can't say, I don't want to pay that. That's a lack consciousness. We pay it gladly. We practice paying gladly by writing thank you. Realizing everything is interdependent in the great whole. Everything is interdependent. And we are grateful for that which we have and that which we receive, right? So, service, we talked about right service. Really, what you must do.